The Los Angeles sun hung low, casting a golden haze over the city's sprawling skyline. Palm trees swayed gently in the breeze, their shadows dancing across the glass facades of Hollywood's towering studios. Zoe Washington, an African-American woman with a fierce determination etched into her warm brown eyes, sat at a small wooden table in her modest apartment. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard of her aging laptop, the screen glowing with the final pages of a screenplay she'd poured her heart into for months. Los Angeles Light is a story of resilience and truth in a city that thrived on illusion. As a single mother, every word she wrote carried the weight of her dreams, not just for herself, but for her 6-year-old son Caleb, who was sprawled on the living room floor coloring a picture of a rocket ship. Zoe's rich mahogany skin glistened faintly under the sunlight streaming through the window. Her tightly coiled hair was pulled back into a neat bun, a practical choice for a woman who juggled motherhood, a part-time job at a local coffee shop, and her relentless pursuit of a career in screenwriting. She was no stranger to struggle, but this screenplay was different. It was raw, unfiltered, and deeply personal, a story she believed could cut through Hollywood's glossy veneer. With a deep breath, she attached the file to an email addressed to Ryan Carter, a name that carried both prestige and infamy in the industry. In Hollywood, Ryan Carter, a white American producer with a chiseled jaw and piercing blue eyes, was a titan. However, his reputation had taken a hit after a scandal 3 years prior. His pale complexion contrasted sharply with his tailored black suit as he sat in his sleek office on the top floor of Carter Productions. The scandal, a messy public dispute with a former business partner over creative control, had painted him as ruthless a narrative he'd neither confirmed nor denied. At 38, his sandy blonde hair was streaked with hints of silver, a testament to the stress of his high-stakes career. Yet his confidence remained unshaken. When Zoe's email landed in his inbox, the subject line, "Submission Los Angeles," Light caught his eye. Most unsolicited scripts went straight to the trash, but something about the name, or perhaps the audacity of an unknown writer reaching out directly, made him pause. Ryan leaned back in his leather chair, the city sprawling beneath him through floor-to-ceiling windows. He opened the file and began reading. Within 10 pages, he was hooked. Zoe's words were sharp, her characters vivid, their struggles palpable. It wasn't the polished drivel he was used to seeing from seasoned writers chasing. It was real, raw, and unapologetically human, starkly contrasting to the formulaic scripts that flooded his desk. By the time he finished, he knew he had to meet her. He typed a quick reply, his fingers moving with unusual urgency. "Ms. Washington, your screenplay is remarkable. I want to discuss it in person. Are you available to meet at my office this Friday at 2 p.m.? Regards, Ryan Carter." Zoe stared at the email, her heart pounding. Ryan Carter wanted to meet her. She reread the message, half expecting it to vanish like a mirage. Caleb wandered over his small hands, clutching a red crayon. "Mom, you okay? You look funny." She laughed, pulling him into a hug. "I'm more than okay, kiddo. We might be onto something big." Friday arrived, and Zoe stood outside the towering glass building of Carter Productions, her stomach twisting with nerves. She wore a simple navy dress, her natural curls framing her face in a soft halo. Her deep, radiant brown skin glowed under the afternoon sun, though she felt anything but radiant inside. Caleb was at school, and she'd spent the morning practicing her pitch in the mirror, trying to quell the fear that she was walking into a lion's den. Inside, the receptionist, a pale woman with a tight smile, ushered her into a sleek elevator. "Mr. Carter's expecting you," she said, her tone clipped. Zoe nodded, clutching her worn leather notebook to her chest. The elevator hummed upward, and when the doors opened, she stepped into a world of polished marble and modern art that screamed wealth. Ryan's office was at the end of a long hallway, its double doors imposing. When she knocked, a deep voice called, "Come in." She pushed the door open and froze. Ryan Carter stood by the window, his tall frame silhouetted against the cityscape. His fair skin seemed almost translucent in the bright light, and his sharp blue eyes locked onto her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Ms. Washington," he said, extending a hand. His grip was firm, his palm cool against her warm fingers. "Thank you for coming." "Zoe, please," she said, forcing a smile. "And thank you for reading my work." He gestured to a plush chair across from his desk. "Sit. Let's talk about Los Angeles light." His voice was smooth, almost too polished, and Zoe felt a flicker of distrust. She'd heard the stories about Ryan Carter charming, powerful, and not above bending the rules to get what he wanted. She sat crossing her legs and smoothing her dress. "I'd like to know if you'd even open my email. I'm not exactly established." Ryan's lips twitched into a half smile. "I get a lot of scripts, Zoe. Most of them are garbage. Yours isn't. It's exceptional." Her cheeks warmed, but she kept her expression neutral. "Thank you. It's a personal story. I didn't write it to chase trends." "That's why it works," he said, leaning forward. His pale hands folded on the desk, a single silver ring glinting on his finger. "Hollywood's starving for authenticity. Your script has it in spades. Grit heart, a real pulse. I want to produce it." Zoe's heart leapt, but her instincts screamed caution. "Produce it how?" "What's your vision?" Ryan raised an eyebrow, clearly unused to being questioned. "I envision bringing your story to life, a mid-budget drama shot here in LA, with a strong director and a solid cast. You'd have input, of course, but I'd handle the heavy lifting, financing, distribution, the works." It sounded too good to be true, which was precisely why Zoe hesitated. "And what do you get out of it?" "A cut of the profits." "Naturally," he said, his blue eyes narrowing slightly. "But more than that, I get to put my name on something that matters. My last few projects, let's say they didn't exactly move the needle. Your script could change that." Zoe's fingers tightened around her notebook. She'd done her research on Ryan Carter. His last big film had tanked, overshadowed by the scandal that painted him as a manipulative shark. "I appreciate the interest, Mr. Carter." "Ryan," he corrected, his smile disarming. "Ryan," she said, her voice steady. "But I need to be clear. This story is mine. I'm not handing it over to be rewritten into someone else's vision." His smile faded, replaced by a look of genuine curiosity. "You think I'd butcher your work? Hollywood has a way of chewing up new voices," she said bluntly. "I've seen it happen. I'm not naive." Ryan leaned back, studying her. Her dark skin glowed under the soft office lighting, and her unwavering gaze impressed him. Most people wilted under his scrutiny, but Zoe Washington was different, grounded, fierce, unafraid to challenge him. "You're protective of your work. I respect that, but I'm not in the business of ruining good stories. I'm in the company of making them shine." Zoe's lips pressed into a thin line. "I've heard that before. I'm grateful for the meeting, but I need time to think. This is a lot to take in." Ryan nodded, though his jaw tightened slightly. "Take all the time you need." "But Zoe, opportunities like this don't come around twice. I'm offering you a real shot." She stood, clutching her notebook like a shield. "I know, and I'll consider it. Thank you, Ryan." As she left his office, Ryan watched her go, his mind racing. Zoe Washington wasn't just talented, she was a force. He wasn't used to being turned down, even politely, which only made him want to work with her more. Zoe spent the next few days in a whirlwind of doubt and excitement. Caleb's chatter about school kept her grounded, but her mind drifted to Ryan's offer. His pale, angular face and piercing eyes lingered in her thoughts, not because of attraction, though he was undeniably handsome, but because of his wielding power. One wrong move, and her dream could become a nightmare. She met with her best friend Maya at a small diner near her apartment. Maya, a graphic designer with a penchant for bold lipstick, slid into the booth across from her. "So spill it. What's got you looking like you just won the lottery and lost your car keys?" Zoe laughed, her dark fingers tracing the rim of her coffee mug. "I got an email from Ryan Carter. He wants to produce my screenplay." Maya's jaw dropped. Ryan Carter. As in billionaire producer, tabloid heartthrob. Ryan Carter. The very one, Zoe said, her voice dry. "He says he loves my script, but I don't know if I can trust him. He's got a reputation." Maya leaned forward, her eyes gleaming. "Girl, his reputation is half the fun. Rich, gorgeous, and a little dangerous. Sign me up." Zoe rolled her eyes. "I'm not looking for fun, Maya. I'm looking for control. This script is everything to me. If he changes one word without my say-so, I'll lose it." "Then set boundaries," Maya said, sipping her iced tea. "You're not some wide-eyed intern. You're Zoe Washington, badass single mom and brilliant writer. Make him sign a contract that protects your vision." Zoe nodded, her resolve strengthening. "You're right. I need to go in with my eyes open. No compromises." When Zoe emailed Ryan to confirm a second meeting, she drafted a list of non-negotiable terms. She wasn't just protecting her screenplay, but also herself and Caleb. Hollywood was a glittering maze of promises, and Zoe's deep brown eyes had seen enough to know that trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Ryan, meanwhile, couldn't shake the image of Zoe's defiant stance in his office. Her rich, dark skin and unyielding spirit had left a mark on him, one he wasn't sure he understood. He'd built his empire by charming and outmaneuvering others. But Zoe was different. She wasn't intimidated by his wealth or name, which made her both a challenge and a necessity. Los Angeles Light wasn't just a script, it was his redemption. And Zoe Washington was the key. Their second meeting was set for the following week. And as Zoe prepared her demands, Ryan prepared his pitch. Neither knew it yet, but their collision was about to ignite a spark that would light up the city and burn down the walls they'd both built around their hearts. Zoe Washington sat in the same polished office at Carter Productions, her navy blazer pressed sharp, and her notebook open to a page of carefully written demands. The Los Angeles skyline shimmered through the massive windows, a glittering distraction she refused to indulge. Across the desk, Ryan Carter leaned back in his chair, his tailored suit hugging his frame. His blue eyes locked on her with amusement and respect. The air between them crackled with unspoken tension, like two players in a chess game sizing up their next move. "Thank you for coming back, Zoe," Ryan said, his voice smooth but deliberate. "Have you thought about my offer?" Zoe nodded, her fingers steady, as she slid a single sheet of paper across the desk. "I have. These are my terms. Non-negotiable." Ryan raised an eyebrow, picking up the paper. His eyes scanned the list: complete creative control over the final script, veto power on major casting decisions, and a guaranteed percentage of the film's profits, among others. He let out a low whistle. "You don't mess around, do you?" Zoe said. "This is my life's work." Her voice firm but calm. "I'm not here to be a name on a call sheet. I want to be in the room where it happens." Ryan set the paper down, his expression unreadable. "Most writers would kill for a producer's credit and a paycheck. You're asking for the keys to the kingdom." "I'm asking for what's mine," she countered, leaning forward. "Los Angeles. Light isn't just a script. It's my story, my voice. I've seen what happens when writers hand over their work to people like you. It gets carved up until it's unrecognizable." Ryan's jaw tightened, but his tone remained even. "People like me. You've done your homework, I see." Zoe didn't flinch. "It's Hollywood. Your name comes with baggage. I'm not judging you, Ryan, but I'm not naive. I need guarantees. He leaned forward, his elbows resting on the desk. Zoe, I'm not your enemy. I read your script. I felt it. The pain, hope, and how you captured this city's soul is brilliant. I don't want to change a word of it. I want to make it shine. Her eyes narrowed, searching his face for a hint of deception. Then why does it feel like you're pushing so hard? You barely know me, he said. Because I know talent when I see it. His voice dropping with intensity. And I know a game changer when I read one. This film could redefine both of us. You're not the only one with something to prove. Zoe paused, caught off guard by the flicker of vulnerability in his words. For a moment, she glimpsed the man behind the mogul, a man who'd been burned by the industry as much as he'd burned others. But she couldn't afford to soften. I want to believe you, she said, but I've got a son to think about. I can't risk this blowing up in my face. Ryan nodded, his fingers drumming lightly on the desk. Fair enough. Let's go through your terms line by line. I'm open to negotiation. For the next hour, they dissected her demands. Zoe held her ground, explaining each point with precision. Ryan pushed back on a few budget constraints. He argued made complete creative control tricky, but he conceded more than she expected. By the end, they'd reached a tentative agreement. Zoe would retain final script approval, a co-producer credit, and a fair profit share, though Ryan insisted on flexibility for casting to attract investors. It wasn't everything she wanted, but more than she'd hoped. Ryan said, I'll have my lawyers draw up the contract, standing to shake her hand. His grip was warm, lingering a moment too long. You drive a hard bargain, Zoe Washington. She smiled faintly, pulling her hand back. You have no idea. As she left the office, her heart raced with triumph and unease. Working with Ryan Carter felt like dancing on a tightrope. One wrong step, and she'd fall. But the fire in her gut told her she was ready for the challenge. Over the next week, Zoe threw herself into revisions, polishing Los Angeles Light, while juggling Caleb's school schedule and her coffee shop shifts. Ryan's team sent her detailed notes, most of which she ignored, sticking to her vision. She emailed him updates, keeping their communication professional but brief. Her pulse quickened whenever his name appeared in her inbox, and she hated herself. Ryan Carter was a business partner, nothing more. His charm was a distraction she couldn't afford. Meanwhile, Ryan was restless. Zoe's script consumed his thoughts, its raw honesty gnawing at him. He'd built his career on calculated risks, but this felt different, personal. He saw himself in the story's flawed protagonist, a man chasing redemption in a city that thrived on betrayal. Zoe's talent unnerved him, and her refusal to bend drew him in deeper. He wasn't used to being challenged and liked it more than he cared to admit. One evening, Ryan called Zoe unexpectedly, his voice crackling through her phone. I've got a director in mind, he said without preamble. Lila Chen. She's got an Oscar nom and a knack for character-driven dramas. Thoughts? Zoe, stirring pasta for Caleb's dinner, paused. I know her work. She's good. But I want to meet with her first. No rubber stamps. Ryan chuckled, the sound warm and disarming. I expected nothing less. I'll set it up. And Zoe, you're going to like her. She's as stubborn as you are. Zoe smirked, hanging up. Stubborn was her middle name. The meeting with Lila Chen was set for a sleek downtown cafe, a neutral ground that put Zoe at ease. Lila, a sharp-witted woman with a no-nonsense vibe, dove straight into the script. Your dialogue cuts like a knife, she said, sipping an espresso. It's rare to see that kind of clarity in a first draft. It's my 5th draft, Zoe admitted, stirring her tea. But thank you. I'm protective of it. As you should be, Lila said. Ryan's got a good eye, but he's intense. Watch your back with him. Zoe's eyebrows rose. Are you speaking from experience? Lila shrugged. He's a visionary, but he's used to getting his way. Just make sure you hold your ground. Zoe nodded, her suspicions confirmed. Don't worry, I'm not budging. As pre-production began, Zoe felt the weight of her decision. Ryan's team moved fast, securing a modest budget and scouting locations. Zoe visited the office weekly, her presence commanding respect among the staff. True to his word, Ryan kept her in the loop, but his relentless energy set her on edge. He was always there, approving designs, pitching investors, and watching her with those piercing eyes. She couldn't tell if he was testing her or genuinely invested, and the uncertainty gnawed at her. One afternoon, while reviewing set designs, Ryan pulled her aside. Zoe, I need you to trust me, he said, his voice low. I'm not here to steal your story. I'm here to make it real. She crossed her arms, meeting his gaze. Trust is earned, Ryan. You're getting there, but I'm not signing my soul away. He grinned, undeterred. Fair enough. But I'm not giving up. Zoe's refusal to fully commit drove Ryan to dig deeper into her script. Late at night, he reread it, his office lit only by a desk lamp. The story's heart, a single mother fighting for her place in a cutthroat world, hit closer to home than he expected. He thought of his mistakes, the scandal that had cost him allies and left him isolated. Zoe's words held a mirror to his own flaws, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to thank her or run from her. Meanwhile, Zoe confided in Maya over late-night wine. He's too smooth, she said, curling up on her couch. Every time I push back, he agrees with me. It's like he's playing a game. Maya swirled her glass. Or maybe he's into you, not just your script. Zoe scoffed. Please, he's into the deal. I'm just the means to an end. Maya raised an eyebrow. Keep telling yourself that. But I've seen his type. He's hooked, and you're too busy guarding your heart to notice. Zoe shook her head, but Maya's words lingered. Ryan Carter was a puzzle she wasn't ready to solve. Not yet. By the time the contract arrived, Zoe had her lawyer, a pro bono friend from Maya's network, review every line. The terms were solid, but one clause gave her pause. Ryan retained the right to final casting approval. When she called him to object, he didn't hesitate. Zoe, I need some leverage to pull in big names. It's how we get funding. You'll still have a say. She relented grudgingly, but added a handwritten note to her copy. Don't screw me over, Carter. The deal was signed, and Los Angeles Light was officially greenlit. Zoe felt a surge of pride, but the real battle, she knew, was beginning. Zoe Washington sat at her kitchen table, the faint hum of Los Angeles traffic filtering through the open window. Her laptop screen glowed with the latest draft of Los Angeles Light, but her mind was elsewhere, replaying her last meeting with Ryan Carter. His intensity, the way his blue eyes seemed to see straight through her, left her uneasy. The contract was signed, the film greenlit, but Zoe couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into a world she wasn't fully prepared for. Her son Caleb was asleep in the next room, and his soft snores reminded her of why she was doing this. This wasn't just about her dream, but about building a future for him. Ryan, meanwhile, was in his sleek office at Carter Productions, the city's glittering skyline, a backdrop to his restless thoughts. He'd reread Zoe's script late into the night, its raw honesty cutting deeper each time. The story wasn't just good, it was a mirror to the parts of himself he'd buried under years of deals and scandals. He saw his flaws in the protagonist's struggle for redemption, and Zoe's unflinching voice made him want to prove he could do this right. But her distrust, her guarded demeanor challenged him in ways he hadn't expected. He wasn't used to people saying no to him. Yet Zoe's refusal to bend only made him more determined to win her trust. He leaned back in his chair, the script open on his desk. This is it, he muttered to himself. This is what Hollywood's missing. The industry thrived on flash and formula, but Los Angeles Light was different, gritty, human. a story that didn't shy away from the messiness of life. He wanted to protect and amplify it, but Zoe's wariness made him second-guess his approach. He'd come on too strong in their last meeting, pitching his vision with the confidence of a man used to getting his way. She'd pushed back, accusing him of trying to control her story. The memory stung, but it also fueled him. He needed her to see he was on her side. Ryan picked up his phone and dialed Zoe's number. She answered on the third ring, her voice cautious. "Ryan, it's late." "I know," he said, keeping his tone light. "I was rereading your script. I can't stop thinking about it. The scene in the diner where the mother confronts her past, it's haunting. I want to make sure we get it right." Zoe paused, surprised by his sincerity. "That scene's personal," she said, her voice softening. "It's not just fiction. I need it to stay untouched." "It will," Ryan promised. "I'm not here to rewrite your soul, Zoe. I want to bring it to the screen exactly as you wrote it." She wanted to believe him, but trust was fragile in Hollywood. "Words are easy, Ryan. I need to see it in action." "Then let me show you," he said. "Come to the studio tomorrow. We're scouting locations and I want your input. You're not just the writer, you're the heart of this." Zoe hesitated, glancing at Caleb's drawing of a rocket ship pinned to the fridge. "I'll try. I've got Caleb, though. My schedule's tight." "Bring him," Ryan said without missing a beat. "We've got a lounge with toys. He'll be fine." She laughed, a short, surprised sound. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," he said, a smile in his voice. "Say yes, Zoe." "Fine," she said, her tone grudging but curious. "I'll see you tomorrow." The next day, Zoe arrived at Carter Productions with Caleb in tow, his small hand gripping hers. The studio was a maze of activity assistants darting between offices, set designers sketching on tablets, and the faint hum of ambition in the air. Caleb's eyes widened at seeing a model cityscape on display, and Zoe squeezed his hand, grateful for the distraction. Ryan met them in the lobby, his suit traded for a crisp button-down, and jeans a casual shift that made him seem less untouchable. "Hey, Caleb," he said, crouching to the boy's level. "You like spaceships?" Caleb nodded shyly, clutching a toy rocket. Ryan grinned. "We've got a whole room of cool stuff. Want to check it out?" Zoe raised an eyebrow as Ryan led them to a lounge with colorful beanbags and a box of toys. "You're good with kids," she said, half accusing. "I've got a nephew," Ryan said, standing. "Comes with the territory. Now, let's talk locations." They spent the morning reviewing photos of potential sets. A gritty diner, a neon-lit street, a cramped apartment that mirrored the one in Zoe's script. She was impressed by Ryan's attention to detail and how he listened when she suggested tweaks to match her vision. But his enthusiasm was relentless, almost overwhelming. He talked about budgets, timelines, and marketing with a fervor that made her feel he was trying to claim the project as his own. "Slow down," she said finally, as they stood over a map of LA. "This is moving too fast. I need to know you're not steamrolling me." Ryan's expression faltered, but he nodded. "I get it. I'm used to running the show. But this is your show, Zoe. I'm just here to make it happen." She studied him, searching for a lie, but found only earnestness. "Okay," she said. "But if I feel like you're taking over, I'm out." "Deal," he said, his smile returning. "Now what do you think about shooting the climax at Griffith Observatory? It's iconic, but it fits the story's heart." Zoe considered it, picturing the scene under the stars. "It could work, but it needs to feel raw, not polished, no Hollywood gloss." "Done," Ryan said, jotting a note. "Raw it is." As they worked, Zoe began to see Ryan differently. He wasn't just a mogul. He was a man who cared about the story, maybe as much as she did. But his intensity still set her on edge. Every decision felt like a test, and she wasn't sure if she was passing or failing. When they broke for lunch, Ryan ordered sandwiches for the team, insisting Caleb pick his favorite. The boy chose peanut butter and jelly, and Ryan laughed, ruffling his hair. Zoe watched her heart softening despite herself. That evening, Zoe called Maya back at her apartment. "He's not what I expected," she admitted, tucking her legs under her on the couch. "He's pushing, but he's listening too. I don't know what to make of it." Maya's voice was teasing. "Sounds like you're warming up to Mr. Big Shot." Zoe scoffed. "Hardly. I'm just trying to keep my script alive." Uh-huh, Maya said. "Keep telling yourself that." Ryan, meanwhile, was grappling with his own doubts. Zoe's script had awakened something in him, a hunger to create something tangible that mattered. But her wariness made him question his approach. He'd always been the one in control, the one calling the shots. With Zoe, he had to earn every inch of trust, which was both exhilarating and frustrating. He wanted her to see him as a partner, not a threat, but his reputation preceded him. The scandal that had tarnished his name years ago lingered, and he knew Zoe had read the headlines. He called his assistant, Elena, a sharp-witted woman who'd been with him for years. "I need you to dig into Zoe Washington," he said. "Background connections, anything that'll help me understand her." Elena's voice was calm. "You sure that's wise? Ryan, she's already skittish." "I'm not trying to control her," he said, exasperated. "I want to know who I'm working with." Elena hesitated. "All right, but don't push too hard. You'll scare her off." Ryan hung up, staring at the script on his desk. He wasn't trying to control Zoe. He was trying to prove he could be more than the man Hollywood thought he was. But the line between ambition and obsession was thin, and he was dangerously close to crossing it. Zoe's days blurred into a rhythm of writing, mothering, and navigating Ryan's world. She met with Lila Chen again, refining the script's tone. Lila's blunt feedback was a lifeline grounding Zoe when Ryan's enthusiasm threatened to overwhelm her. But the more they worked, the more Zoe felt the weight of Hollywood's gaze. Whispers followed her at the studio, assistants glancing her way, producers sizing her up. She was an outsider, a new voice in a town that didn't always welcome them. One afternoon, Ryan invited her to a networking event, a glitzy affair at a rooftop bar overlooking the city. Zoe hesitated, but agreed, knowing exposure was part of the game. She wore a sleek black dress, confidence a shield against the room's polished crowd. Ryan was at her side, introducing her to directors and investors, his hand brushing her arm as he guided her through the throng. The touch was fleeting, but it sent a jolt through her, one she quickly dismissed. Ryan said, leaning against the bar, "You're holding your own. Not everyone can walk into a room like this and own it." Zoe sipped her wine, her eyes scanning the crowd. "I'm not here to play nice. I'm here for my story, and you'll get it," he said, his voice low. "I'm all in, Zoe. I hope you know that." She met his gaze, her heart racing. "I'm starting to." But the harmony was short-lived. Late that night, Zoe received an email from an unknown sender. Attached was a photo of her and Ryan at the event, his hand on her arm. The caption reading, "Newcomer, cozying up to Carter for a quick rise." The message was brief. "Hollywood sees everything. Watch your step." Zoe's stomach churned. She forwarded the email to Ryan, her fingers shaking. His reply came within minutes. "I'll handle this. Stay focused." But the damage was done. The seed of doubt had been planted, and Zoe couldn't shake the feeling that Ryan's world was more dangerous than she'd realized. She clutched Caleb's rocket, drawing her resolve hardening. She'd fight for her story, no matter the cost. Zoe Washington sat in her dimly lit apartment, the anonymous email still burning in her mind. The photo of her and Ryan Carter at the rooftop event. His hand grazing her arm felt like a violation, a reminder that Hollywood's glamour came with a price. She'd forwarded it to Ryan, and his quick response, "I'll handle this," did little to ease her unease. She glanced at Caleb asleep on the couch, his toy rocket clutched to his chest. The sight grounded her, but the weight of the threat lingered. She wasn't just fighting for her script anymore. She was fighting for her place in a world that seemed determined to tear her down. At Carter Productions, Ryan paced his office, the email open on his computer. The insinuation that Zoe was using him to climb the Hollywood ladder was absurd, but it hit a nerve. His own scandal years ago had been fueled by similar rumors, half-truths twisted into headlines. He knew how quickly a whisper could become a wildfire. He called Elena, his assistant, her voice sharp despite the late hour. "Find out who sent this," he said, his tone clipped. "I want a name." Elena sighed. "Ryan, it's a troll. You know how this town works." "I don't care," he snapped. "Zoe doesn't deserve this. Get me answers." Elena paused, then agreed. "I'll see what I can do." Ryan didn't know that Elena was already one step ahead, not in helping him, but in orchestrating the chaos. She'd been by his side for years, her loyalty unquestioned, but beneath her polished exterior simmered a quiet resentment. Ryan's obsession with Zoe's script, with Zoe herself, had pushed Elena to the sidelines. She was tired of being the invisible cog in his machine, and Los Angeles Light was her chance to change that. She'd already made discreet calls to a rival studio, offering them a peek at Zoe's script. The email was just the beginning. The next morning, Zoe arrived at the studio, her jaw set. She'd barely slept, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Ryan met her in the conference room where Lila Chen and a small team reviewed storyboards. He looked tired, his usually crisp shirt slightly rumpled, but his smile was warm. "You okay?" he asked, pulling her aside. Zoe crossed her arms. "I've had better nights. That email wasn't just a prank, Ryan. Someone's watching me." He nodded, his expression grim. "I've got people looking into it. We'll find out who's behind it." She studied him, searching for a crack in his confidence. "Are you sure this isn't a PR stunt? Your name's been tied to worse." Ryan's eyes flashed with hurt, but he kept his voice steady. "Zoe, I'd never do that to you. This project means too much to both of us." She wanted to believe him, but the email had shaken her. "I need more than words, Ryan. I need to know I'm not walking into a trap." He stepped closer, his voice low. "You're not. I'm in this with you, Zoe, all the way." Before she could respond, Elena entered, a tablet in hand. "Ryan, the studio heads want a progress report. And Zoe, I've got some notes on the script from the casting team. Can we talk?" Zoe nodded, wary. Elena's smile was too polished, and her demeanor was too perfect. They stepped into a side office where Elena handed her a folder. "Just some suggestions," she said. "We're thinking about tweaking the mother's backstory to make her more relatable." Zoe's eyes narrowed as she scanned the notes. The changes were subtle but insidious, softening the mother's edges, stripping away her complexity. "These aren't tweaks," she said, her voice sharp. "This is a rewrite. It changes the whole character." Elena shrugged, her smile unwavering. "Just trying to help. The studio wants a broad appeal." Zoe closed the folder, her hands steady. "The studio can want what it wants. This is my story. It stays as is." Elena's smile faltered, but she nodded. "Of course. I'll pass that along." As Zoe left the room, she felt Elena's eyes on her back, a prickle of unease running down her spine. She didn't trust her, but had no proof, just a gut feeling that something was off. Over the next few days, Zoe buried herself in work, refining the script while keeping Caleb close. She took him to the park, his laughter a balm for her frayed nerves, but the anonymous email lingered like a shadow. True to his word, Ryan kept her in the loop, sharing updates on locations and casting. He'd secured a rising star for a supporting role, a move that thrilled the investors, and Zoe grudgingly admired his hustle. But the more they worked together, the more she felt his pull, not just as a producer, but as a man who seemed to understand her in ways she hadn't expected. One evening, Ryan invited her to dinner to discuss the casting shortlist. Zoe hesitated, but agreed, leaving Caleb with Maya. They met at a quiet Italian restaurant, the kind of place where the staff knew Ryan by name. He ordered wine, his demeanor relaxed but focused. He said, "I've been thinking about the lead," swirling his glass. "We need someone who can carry the weight of your story. I've got a few names, but I want your input." Zoe leaned forward, intrigued despite herself. "Who are you thinking of?" He slid a list across the table. "The top pick is Adrian Vega. He's got the range and his name pulls crowds." Zoe froze, her heart lurching. Her ex, Adrian Vega, the man who'd walked out on her and Caleb years ago, left her to pick up the pieces. She hadn't seen his name in years, and she hadn't wanted to. "No," she said, her voice flat. "Not him." Ryan frowned, surprised by her reaction. "He's a draw, Zoe. And he's interested. What's the issue?" She looked away, her fingers tightening around her glass. "It's personal. He's not right for the part." Ryan studied her, sensing the weight behind her words. "Okay. We'll find someone else. You've got veto power, remember?" She nodded, her throat tight. "Thanks." The rest of the dinner was quiet, the air heavy with unspoken questions. Ryan didn't push, but his concern was palpable. Zoe left the restaurant feeling exposed, her past creeping into the present like an unwanted guest. Elena, meanwhile, was moving her own pieces. She'd met with a contact at Horizon Studios, a rival company eager to outshine Carter Productions. Over coffee in a nondescript diner, she handed over a USB drive containing Zoe's script. "It's raw, but it's gold," she said, her voice low. "You could beat Carter to the punch if you move fast." Her contact, a slick producer named Marcus, grinned. "This is good, Elena. What's your price?" "Make it worth my while," she said. "And make sure Carter knows he's been outplayed." Elena played her role flawlessly at the studio, offering Zoe fake smiles and Ryan empty reassurances. She suggested minor changes to the production schedule, nudging the timeline to create delays. Her plan was simple: sow chaos, let Horizon steal the spotlight, and watch Ryan's empire take a hit. Zoe was collateral damage, a necessary sacrifice for Elena's ambition. Zoe's unease grew as pre-production ramped up. She noticed minor discrepancies, missing emails, altered notes, and schedules that didn't align. She confronted Ryan one morning, her frustration spilling over. "Something's off," she said, standing in his office. "I'm not getting all the updates and the casting list keeps changing without my input." Ryan frowned, checking his tablet. "That shouldn't be happening. I'll talk to the team." "It's not just the team," Zoe said, her voice sharp. "It feels like someone's messing with us. With me." Ryan met her gaze, his jaw set. "I'll get to the bottom of it. You have my word." But the cracks were already forming. Zoe returned home to find another anonymous email with a screenshot of her script's first page marked up with Horizon Studios' logo. The message read, "They're coming for your story. Trust no one." Zoe's heart pounded as she forwarded it to Ryan. His response was immediate: "Stay calm. I'm handling it." But calm was the last thing she felt. She hugged Caleb tight, her mind racing. Hollywood wasn't just a dream. It was a battlefield, and she was caught in the crossfire. Ryan spent the night digging through emails and call logs, his suspicion falling on Elena. She'd been too quick to dismiss the first email, too eager to handle the script's distribution. He confronted her the next day, his voice low, but dangerous. "Tell me you're not playing games, Elena." Her eyes widened, all innocence. "Ryan, I'm on your side. Always have been." He didn't believe her, but he had no proof yet. He hired a private investigator, which was a discreet move to protect Zoe and the project. Zoe grew more guarded as the days passed, her trust in Ryan fraying. She threw herself into protecting her script, double-checking every decision, every email. But the shadow of betrayal loomed, and neither she nor Ryan knew how deep it ran. Zoe Washington sat at her kitchen table, the faint glow of her laptop casting shadows across the room. The anonymous emails had stopped, but their weight lingered, a constant reminder that someone was watching her every move. Los Angeles Light was now in complete pre-production, with sets being built and casting calls underway, but a growing sense of unease tempered Zoe's excitement. She glanced at Caleb, who was sprawled on the living room floor, piecing together a puzzle of the solar system. His quiet focus grounded her, but the name Ryan Carter had mentioned at their last dinner. Adrian Vega had thrown her into a tailspin. Adrian Vega, her ex, was a name she'd buried years ago. He was a rising star when they dated, his charm and ambition intoxicating, until he'd walked out without a word, leaving her pregnant and alone. Now he was a Hollywood heavyweight, his face plastered on billboards and magazine covers. The idea of him playing the lead in her film felt like a betrayal of everything she'd built since he left. She'd immediately shut down Ryan's suggestion, but the memory of Adrian's name on that casting list gnawed at her, stirring up old wounds she thought she'd healed. Ryan, meanwhile, was in his office at Carter Productions, the city's skyline a glittering distraction through his floor-to-ceiling windows. He'd sensed Zoe's reaction to Adrian's name was more than professional. It was personal, but he hadn't pressed her. Her veto was enough, and he'd moved on to other casting options. Still, her guarded demeanor frustrated him. He wanted her trust, not just her script, but every step forward seemed to push her further away. The anonymous emails had only deepened her suspicion, and Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that someone on his team was undermining them. He called a meeting with his inner circle, Lila Chen, the director, and Elena, his assistant. Lila was blunt as always, and her notes on the script were sharp and insightful. Elena, however, was quieter than usual, her smile tight as she handed out revised schedules. Ryan watched her closely, his instincts prickling. She'd been loyal for years, but her recent suggestions, subtle changes to the script, delays in communication felt off. He couldn't prove anything, but he was determined to find out. Ryan said, "Zoe's coming in tomorrow to review the new casting list, and his tone is firm. I want everything ready. No surprises." Elena nodded, her expression neutral. "Of course. I'll make sure the team's on track." Lila raised an eyebrow. "You sure about that?" Last week's mix-up with the location permits wasn't exactly smooth. Elena's smile didn't waver. "Just a glitch. It's handled." Ryan let it slide, but his unease grew. After the meeting, he called his private investigator, a gruff man named Paul, who specialized in Hollywood's underbelly. "Anything in those emails?" Ryan asked. "Nothing solid yet," Paul said. "But they're coming from a burner account routed through multiple servers. Whoever's behind it knows how to cover their tracks." "Keep digging," Ryan said, hanging up. He leaned back in his chair, Zoe's script open on his desk. Her words were a lifeline, reminding him why he was fighting so hard. But the stakes were higher now, and he wasn't sure who he could trust. The next day, Zoe arrived at the studio with Caleb, who clutched his toy rocket and chattered about astronauts. Ryan greeted them in the lobby, his casual jeans and button-down starkly contrasting the polished suits around him. "Hey, Caleb," he said, crouching down. "Do you want to see a real film set today?" Caleb's eyes lit up. "Can I, Mom?" Zoe hesitated, then nodded. "As long as you stay close." Ryan led them to a soundstage where a partial set of the film's diner scene was taking shape. While Zoe and Ryan reviewed the casting list, Caleb ran ahead, marveling at the fake neon signs. The new names were solid, talented actors with strong resumes, but one addition stopped her cold: Adrian Vega listed as a potential alternate. What is this? Zoe asked, her voice sharp as she pointed at the name. Ryan frowned, scanning the list. That's a mistake. I told the team he was off the table. Then why's he here? Zoe's eyes narrowed, her fingers tightening around the paper. I was clear, Ryan. No, Adrian. I'll fix it, he said, his tone apologetic but firm. This shouldn't have happened. Before Zoe could respond, a voice cut through the soundstage. Zoe, is that you? She froze, her heart lurching. Adrian Vega stood at the edge of the set, his tailored jacket and easy grin, as familiar as a bad dream. He was taller than she remembered, his presence commanding the room. It's been a while, he said, stepping closer. Zoe's jaw tightened, her body rigid. What are you doing here? Ryan's team reached out, Adrian said, glancing at Ryan with a raised eyebrow. Said they were considering me for the lead. I had no idea this was your project. Zoe turned to Ryan, her eyes blazing. You said he was off the list. He was. Ryan said, his voice low but urgent. I don't know how this happened, Zoe. I'll find out. Adrian raised his hands, his charm undimmed. Look, no need to fight. I'm just here to read for the part. Your script's incredible, Zoe. I'd love to be part of it. She stepped closer, her voice cold. You don't get to walk back into my life and act like nothing happened. You're not touching my story. Adrian's smile faltered, but he recovered quickly. I get it. Bad blood. But this is business. I can bring your vision to life. Zoe turned to Ryan, her expression unyielding. Get him out of here. Now. Ryan nodded, signaling a staff member. Adrian, let's talk outside. Zoe took Caleb's hand and left, her heart pounding as Adrian left. Ryan caught up with her in the hallway, his voice urgent. Zoe. I didn't know he'd be here. I swear. She stopped, her eyes searching his. Then how did he get here, Ryan? Someone's playing games and I'm not sticking around to find out who. She left with Caleb, leaving Ryan staring after her. He stormed back to his office, calling Elena. How did Vega end up on that set, he demanded. Elena's voice was almost too quiet, a mix-up with the casting team. I'll handle it. Ryan didn't buy it. No more mix-ups, Elena. I want answers by tomorrow. Zoe spent the evening pacing her apartment, her mind tangled with anger and fear. Adrian's reappearance wasn't just a coincidence. It felt like a deliberate jab, a reminder of her vulnerability. She called Maya, her voice shaking as she recounted the day. He just showed up. Maya liked him as if he had every right to be there. Maya's voice was steady. You think Ryan set it up? I don't know. Zoe admitted, sinking onto the couch. He seemed as surprised as I was, but I couldn't trust him after this. Then trust yourself, Maya said. You've got the contract. You've got control. Don't let Adrian or anyone else take that from you. Zoe nodded, her resolve hardening. She wasn't the same woman Adrian had left behind. She was stronger now, a mother, a writer, a force. But the past had a way of creeping in, and she wasn't sure she could outrun it. Ryan, meanwhile, was unraveling the mess. He met with Paul, the investigator, late that night in a quiet diner. Paul slid a folder across the table. Nothing concrete on the emails yet, but I've got a lead on your assistant. Elena's been in contact with Horizon Studios. Can't say for sure what she's shared, but it's not looking good. Ryan's jaw clenched. Keep digging. I need proof. He returned to the studio, his mind racing. Elena had been with him through his darkest days, but loyalty could sour and ambition could twist. He thought of Zoe, her fierce determination, her refusal to let Hollywood break her. He wasn't just fighting for the film anymore. He was fighting for her trust and running out of time. Zoe threw herself into protecting her script, double-checking every email, every decision. She met with Lila Chen, who assured her the casting mix-up was being addressed. Ryan's pissed. Lila said, sipping coffee. He's tearing through the team to find out what happened. Good, Zoe said, her voice hard. Because I'm not working with Adrian. Not now. Not ever. Lila nodded, her eyes sympathetic. I get it. This business is brutal. But you've got a good one in Ryan. He's not perfect, but he's fighting for your story. Zoe wasn't so sure. She wanted to believe Ryan, but the shadows of doubt grew longer, and Adrian's return deepened them. Zoe Washington woke to the buzz of her phone notifications piling up like a digital avalanche. She rubbed her eyes, the early morning light filtering through her apartment's blinds. Caleb was still asleep, his toy rocket tucked under his arm. She grabbed her phone, expecting updates from the studio, but what she saw stopped her cold. A post from an anonymous X account had gone viral, its words cutting like a knife. Screenwriter Zoe Washington, climbing the Hollywood ladder through Ryan Carter's bed. Scandal. Screenwriter. The same photo from the anonymous email was attached. Ryan's hand on her arm at the rooftop event, framed to look intimate. The hashtag was trending with thousands of posts speculating about her relationship with Ryan, motives and talent. Some called her a gold digger, others a manipulator. The vitriol was relentless, each comment a dagger to her carefully built dreams. Zoe's hands shook as she scrolled, her heart pounding. She'd expected pushback in Hollywood, but this was personal, a public assassination of her character. She thought of Caleb, of the life she was building for him. This wasn't just about her, but about protecting him from a world judged without mercy. She called Ryan, her voice tight. Have you seen this? I'm looking at it now, he said, his tone grim. Zoe, I'm sorry. This is bullshit. I'm handling it. Handling it how, she snapped. This is my name being dragged through the mud. You've got a history with PR stunts, Ryan. Tell me this isn't you. It's not, he said, his voice rising with frustration. You think I'd sabotage my own project? Your story. I'm as pissed as you are. Then fix it, she said, hanging up. She sank onto the couch, her mind racing. The timing felt too perfect. Adrian's sudden appearance, the anonymous emails, now this. Someone was orchestrating a campaign against her, and Ryan's past made him an easy suspect. At Carter Productions, Ryan stormed into his office, his phone buzzing with alerts. The hashtag scandal screenwriter hashtag was climbing, and the press was circling, sniffing for a story. He knew how this worked. Hollywood thrived on gossip, and a scandal involving a new writer and a disgraced producer was catnip. He called his PR team, barking orders to counter the narrative, but the damage spread faster than they could contain. Elena knocked on his door, her expression concerned. The team's drafting a statement, she said. We'll say it's baseless push, the focus back to the film. Ryan nodded, but his eyes narrowed. Who's feeding this, Elena? This didn't come out of nowhere. She shrugged, her voice smooth. Probably just a jealous rival. You know how it is. I'll keep an eye out. Ryan didn't respond, but his suspicion deepened. He'd asked Paul, his investigator, to focus on Elena, and the pieces were starting to align. She'd been too quick to dismiss the emails, too calm about the casting mix-up. He needed proof, but he was running out of time. Zoe, meanwhile, was spiraling. She avoided X, but the scandal followed her to the coffee shop where she worked. Customers whispered, their eyes darting to her as she poured lattes. Her boss, a kind woman named Carla, pulled her aside. You okay, Zoe? People are talking. I'm fine. Zoe lied, her smile forced. Just Hollywood nonsense. Carla nodded, but her concern was apparent. If you need time off, say the word. Zoe thanked her, but kept working her pride, refusing to let her hide. She called Maya that evening, her voice breaking. They're tearing me apart, Maya. They're saying I'm using Ryan to get ahead. Maya's voice was fierce. They're wrong, and you know it. You're the real deal, Zoe. Don't let this noise drown you out. I'm trying, Zoe said, wiping her eyes. But it's everywhere. And Adrian showing up. It's too much. Maya paused. You think he's behind it? Zoe hesitated. I don't know. He's got the motive, but this feels bigger, like someone's pulling strings. Then find out who Maya said. You're not helpless. You've got Ryan, Lila, and a whole team. Use them. Zoe nodded, her resolve hardening. She wasn't going to let this break her. She'd fought too hard for too long to let a hashtag define her. The next day, Zoe arrived at the studio, her jaw set. Ryan met her in the conference room, his expression a mix of anger and guilt. I've got the PR team working overtime, he said. We're pushing a counter-narrative, focusing on your talent and the script's originality. It's gaining traction. Zoe crossed her arms. That's not enough. I want to know who's behind this. And don't tell me it's just a troll. Ryan nodded, his voice low. I'm working on it. My investigator is close to a lead. Before Zoe could respond, Adrian Vega walked in his presence like a storm cloud. Zoe, Ryan. I heard about the mess online. I'm here to help. Zoe's eyes narrowed. Help how? By staying out of my life. Adrian sighed, his charm dialed up. I know we've got history, but I care about this project. Let me make a statement clear the air. I was never considered for the lead shutting down the rumors. Zoe glanced at Ryan, who nodded reluctantly. It could help, he said. But it's your call, Zoe. She hesitated, her instincts screaming against trusting Adrian. But the scandal was spiraling, and she needed allies. Fine, she said. But one word out of line and you're done. Adrian's statement went out that afternoon, denying any casting rumors and praising Zoe's script. It helped, but the hashtag lingered, and Zoe's trust in Ryan was fraying. She threw herself into the script meeting with Lila to refine the final scenes. Lila was a rock, her no-nonsense attitude a lifeline. This town loves drama, she said, sketching a storyboard. Don't let it distract you. Your story's stronger than their lies. Ryan, meanwhile, was closing in on the truth. Paul called late that night with a breakthrough. He said he got a hit on the burner account. It's linked to an IP address at a coffee shop near Horizon Studios. And your assistant's phone records show calls to a known Horizon exec. Ryan's blood ran cold. Elena. Looks like it, Paul said. I need more time to confirm, but she's your leak. Ryan hung up, his mind racing. Elena had access to everything, scripts, schedules, and emails. If she had worked with Horizon, she could have sunk the project before it started. He thought of Zoe, her fierce determination, her vulnerability in the face of this scandal. He wasn't just fighting for the film anymore. He was fighting for her. Zoe received another anonymous email that night. This is a photo of her and Caleb at the park, with a single line. Be careful, trust. Her heart stopped. She forwarded it to Ryan, her hands shaking. He responded immediately. I'm coming over. We're ending this now. When Ryan arrived, his face was grim but determined. Zoe, I know who's behind this. I need you to trust me just for a little longer. She looked at him, her eyes searching his. Please give me a reason to. I will, he said, his voice steady. I promise. As he left, Zoe hugged Caleb, her resolve steeling. The scandal had shaken her, but it hadn't broken her. She was ready to fight, not just for her script, but for her family, her future, and the truth. Zoe Washington sat in her apartment, the weight of the #scandal screenwriter hashtag still pressing on her chest. The viral post accusing her of using Ryan Carter to climb Hollywood's ladder had left a bruise on her reputation, and the anonymous email with a photo of her and Caleb at the park had turned her unease into fear. She'd always known Hollywood was a jungle, but this felt personal, a deliberate strike at her life and son. Caleb was sprawled on the couch watching a cartoon about astronauts oblivious to the storm swirling around his mother. Zoe clutched her phone. Ryan's last message. "I'm coming over. We're ending this now, still open." His urgency had been reassuring, but trust was fragile, and hers was fraying. Ryan arrived at her apartment within the hour, his usual polished demeanor replaced by a tense energy. His button-down was slightly wrinkled, his hair mussed, as if he'd run his hands through it too many times. "Zoe," he said, stepping inside. "We need to talk." She crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing. "Talk fast, Ryan." "I'm not in the mood for promises." He nodded, his jaw tight. "I get it. You're pissed, and you have every right to be. That email about Caleb is unacceptable. I know who's behind it." Zoe's heart skipped. "Who?" "My assistant, Elena," he said, his voice low. "My investigator has evidence that she's been in contact with Horizon Studios. I don't have the complete picture yet, but she's been too slick and quick to dismiss the leaks. I think she's feeding them your script and stirring this mess to sink us." Zoe's stomach churned. "Why? What's her angle?" Ryan ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "I don't know yet. Jealousy, ambition, maybe both. She's been with me for years, but she's been off lately. I'm confronting her tomorrow, but I need you to hold tight." "Hold tight." Zoe's voice rose sharp with anger. "Someone's threatening my son, Ryan. This isn't just about the film anymore. I can't just sit back and wait." "I know," he said, stepping closer, his eyes intense. "I'm not asking you to. Please let me handle Elena while you keep working on the script. We're too close to let this derail us." Zoe shook her head, her hands balling into fists. "You don't get it. This is my life. My kid. I trusted you to keep this project clean, and now I'm dodging paparazzi and threats. How do I know you're not part of this?" Ryan flinched, the accusation hitting hard. "Zoe, I'd never hurt you or Caleb. This film, your story, the first thing in years that's made me feel like I'm doing something real. I'm fighting for it as hard as you are." She studied him, searching for a lie, but found only sincerity. Still, her trust was battered. "Prove it," she said. "Find out who's behind this and stop them, or I'm out." Ryan nodded, his expression grim. "I will. I promise." The next day, Zoe's anger boiled over. She couldn't stay silent without her name and Caleb's safety on the line. Against Maya's advice to lie low, she agreed to an interview with a local entertainment blog known for its fairness. The reporter, a sharp woman named Tara, met her at a quiet cafe away from the studio's chaos. Zoe said, "I'm not here to play the victim stirring her tea. But the rumors, the hashtag, they're lies. I wrote Los Angeles Light from my heart, not to chase anyone's coattails. I'm a single mom, a writer, and I'm damn good at what I do." Tara nodded, scribbling notes. "And the rumors about you and Ryan Carter?" "Fabricated," Zoe said, her voice firm. "He's my producer. Nothing more. Someone's trying to sabotage this project, and I'm not letting them win." The interview went live that afternoon, and Zoe's words struck a chord. Supporters rallied on X, countering the # scandal screenwriter hashtag with #support Zoe Washington. But the backlash was swift. Critics called her defensive, opportunistic, and worse, some accusing her of using the interview to deflect from her affair with Ryan. The narrative spun out of control, and Zoe's frustration erupted. She called Ryan, her voice shaking. "I interviewed to clear my name, and now it's worse. They're saying I'm desperate and playing the sympathy card." "Did you know this would happen?" Ryan's voice was tight. "I didn't know, Zoe. I told you to let me handle the PR. Going public like that, it gave them more fuel." "So this is my fault," she snapped. "You're the one with the scandal history, Ryan. Maybe they're digging because of you." The line went silent for a moment. "You're right," he said finally, his voice low. "My past isn't helping, but I'm not the one leaking your script or threatening Caleb. I'm trying to fix this." "Then do it faster," she said, hanging up. She sank onto her couch, her head in her hands. Caleb wandered over, sensing her distress. "Mom, you okay?" She forced a smile, pulling him close. "I'm okay, kiddo. Just fighting some dragons." Meanwhile, Adrian Vega saw the chaos as an opportunity. He called Zoe, his voice smooth and practiced. "I saw the interview," he said. "You don't deserve this, Zoe. Let me help. I can talk to the press and set the record straight." Zoe's grip tightened on her phone. "You've done enough, Adrian. Stay out of this." "I'm not the enemy," he said, his tone softening. "We were good once. I messed up, but I want to make it right. For you, for the film." Zoe laughed bitterly. "Do you think a few words from the press will fix what you did? You left me, Adrian. You left us. This isn't your redemption story." She hung up, her heart pounding. But Adrian wasn't done. He posted a carefully crafted message on X Proud to support Zoe Washington's talent. "The rumors are baseless. Let's focus on #LosAngelesLight." The post gained traction, painting him as a hero, a protector. Fans praised his class while others questioned why he was involved. The narrative shifted, casting Zoe as the damsel and Adrian as the knight, which only fueled her anger. She texted Ryan, "Adrian's playing savior now. This is getting out of hand." Ryan's reply was immediate. "I'm on it. Meet me tomorrow. We're shutting this down." At the studio, Ryan confronted Elena in his office, his voice low and dangerous. "I know you're talking to Horizon," he said, holding up a printout of her call logs. "What are you giving them?" Elena Zoe's script. The emails. Elena's face remained calm, but her eyes flickered. "You're paranoid, Ryan. I've been loyal to you for years. This is just a misunderstanding." "Then explain the calls," he said, stepping closer. "Explain why Horizon is sniffing around Zoe's script." Elena shrugged, her smile tight. "I network, Ryan. It's my job. If you don't trust me, I'm not the problem." Ryan's jaw clenched. "You're on thin ice. One more slip and you're out." Elena nodded, but as she left, her mind raced. She'd underestimated Ryan's instincts, but she wasn't done. Horizon had promised her a producer credit if she delivered Zoe's script, and she wasn't about to let Ryan's suspicions stop her. She sent a quick text to her contact at Horizon, "Carter's on to me. Move faster." Zoe spent the evening with Maya, pouring out her frustration over wine. "It's like I'm fighting ghosts," she said, her voice raw. "Adrian's back. The press is tearing me apart, and I don't know if I can trust Ryan." Maya leaned forward, her eyes fierce. "You're stronger than this, Zoe. You've got a contract, a killer script, and a kid who thinks you're a superhero. Don't let these vultures take that from you." Zoe nodded, her resolve hardening. "I won't. But I need to know who's behind this. I'm done playing nice if it's Elena or even Ryan." The next day, Zoe arrived at the studio, her eyes burning with determination. Ryan met her in the conference room, where Lila Chen sketched storyboards. "We've got a plan," Ryan said. "My team is drafting a joint statement from you, Lila, and me, focusing on the film's vision. No more reacting to rumors. We set the narrative." Zoe nodded, but her voice was cold. "Fine. But I'm done with surprises, Ryan. If I find out you're holding anything back, we're through." Ryan met her gaze, his expression steady. "You won't. I'm all in, Zoe." Zoe felt a flicker of hope as they worked, but the shadow of doubt remained. Adrian's post had stirred the pot, and the public's perception was slipping further out of her control. She threw herself into the script, refining every line, but the weight of the scandal was crushing. She wasn't just fighting for her story anymore, but for her life. Zoe Washington's world felt like it was unraveling. The hashed scandal screenwriter hashtag had faded slightly thanks to Ryan's PR team and Adrian's calculated post, but the damage lingered. Every glance at her phone brought a fresh wave of dread, and the anonymous emails had escalated into something far darker. The latest arrived late at night, a single line chilling her to the bone. "Your son's not safe. Leave Hollywood." Attached was a photo of Caleb at school, his backpack slung over his shoulder, unaware of the camera. Zoe's heart stopped. This wasn't just about her script or reputation anymore. It was about her child. She forwarded the email to Ryan, her hands trembling, then called him. "This is too far," she said, her voice shaking with rage and fear. "Someone's watching Caleb." "I'm done, Ryan. I'm pulling the plug." Donnie said, his voice urgent. "I know you're scared and you have every right to be. But we're close to nailing this. My investigators got a lead on Elena. Meet me at the studio first thing. We'll figure this out together." Zoe hesitated, her instincts torn between running and fighting. "If anything happens to Caleb Ryan, I swear, nothing will," he said, his tone fierce. "I won't let it. I'm sending security to your place tonight. You and Caleb are safe." Zoe hung up, her heart pounding. She pulled Caleb close, his sleepy protests fading as she hugged him. Hollywood had always been a gamble, but this was a nightmare. She wasn't just fighting for her dream. She was fighting for her son's life. At Carter Productions, Ryan was a man possessed. The threat to Caleb had crossed a line, and his suspicion of Elena had hardened into certainty. He met with Paul, his investigator, in a dimly lit parking garage away from prying eyes. Paul slid a folder across the hood of his car. "It's Elena," he said. "She's been feeding Horizon your script page by page. The emails, the hashtag, it's all her. She's using a burner phone, but we traced it to her through a coffee shop she frequents." Ryan's jaw clenched as he flipped through the evidence, call logs, IP addresses, a screenshot of a text to Horizon's exec promising exclusive access. "Why?" he asked, his voice low. "Ambition," Paul said. "Horizon's offering her a producer credit, maybe more. She's been sidelined by your focus on Zoe. This is her way out." Ryan nodded, his anger simmering. "Get me everything. I want her buried." The next morning, Zoe arrived at the studio with Caleb, a security guard, trailing discreetly behind. Ryan met them in his office, his face grim but determined. "I've got proof," he said, sliding the folder across his desk. "Elena's been working with Horizon. She's behind the emails, the leaks, everything." Zoe scanned the documents, her stomach twisting. "She threatened my son," she said, her voice low. "This isn't just business, Ryan. This is personal." "I know," he said, his eyes meeting hers. "I'm firing her today, and I'm pressing charges. I would like you to stay with me on this. We're too close to let her win." Zoe hesitated, her trust battered but not broken. "What about the film? If Horizon's got my script, what's stopping them from stealing it?" "They won't," Ryan said. "We've got the original, and your contract's ironclad. We'll move faster. Get Los Angeles light out before they can blink." Zoe nodded, her resolve hardening. "Okay, but I want to confront her." Ryan frowned. "That's not a good idea. She's desperate. Let me handle it." "No," Zoe said, her voice firm. "She came after my kid. I'm in the room." Ryan called Elena into his office that afternoon, the air thick with tension. Zoe stood by the window, her arms crossed, her eyes locked on Elena as she entered. Elena's smile was polished, but her posture stiffened when she saw Zoe. "Ryan, what's this about?" Elena asked, her voice light. Ryan didn't waste time. He slid the folder across his desk. "You've been selling us out to Horizon. The script, the emails, the threats to Zoe's son. It's over, Elena." Elena's smile vanished, her eyes darting to the folder. You're wrong, she said, her voice steady but strained. I've been loyal to you for years. Then explain this, Ryan said, opening the folder to reveal the evidence. Your calls, texts, and burner phone. You've been playing us. Elena's composure cracked, her hands trembling. You don't understand, Ryan. You pushed me out. It's all about Zoe now, her script, her vision. I've been running your empire and you didn't even notice. Zoe stepped forward, her voice cold. You threatened my son. You don't get to play the victim. Elena's eyes flashed with defiance. You think you're special, Zoe. You're just another writer who got lucky. Hollywood chews up people like you. Enough, Ryan snapped. You're fired. The police are on their way. Get out. Elena stood, her face a mask of fury. You'll regret this, Ryan, both of you. As she stormed out, Zoe's knees buckled, the weight of the confrontation hitting her. Ryan caught her arm, steadying her. You okay? No, she said, her voice raw. But I will be. That evening, Zoe took Caleb to Maya's, needing a break from the chaos. Maya poured her a glass of wine, her eyes sympathetic. You faced her down, she said. That's my girl. Zoe sighed, sipping her drink. It doesn't feel like a win. She's out, but the damage is done. The press, the threats, it's all still out there. Then keep fighting, Maya said. You've got Ryan, Lila, and a whole team. And you've got me. You're not alone. Zoe nodded, her heart heavy, but resolute. She wasn't running. Not now. Not ever. Ryan spent the night coordinating with his legal team, filing charges against Elena and tightening security around the project. He called Zoe, his voice tired but steady. We're moving up the production schedule, he said. We're filming in 2 weeks. Horizon won't have time to catch up. Zoe's voice was cautious. And the threats, Caleb's safety. He said, I've got security on you both round the clock. No one's touching you or Caleb. I swear it. Zoe paused, her trust in him flickering back to life. Thank you, Ryan, for fighting for us. It's not just for you, he said, his voice soft. It's for me, too. Your story. It's changing me, Zoe. I don't want to be the guy I was before. She didn't know how to respond, so she hung up, her heart tangled with fear and hope. Hollywood was a battlefield, but she was ready to fight for her son, her story, and the light she'd found in the darkness. Zoe Washington sat in her apartment, the hum of Los Angeles traffic, a faint backdrop to her racing thoughts. The confrontation with Elena had left her shaken but resolute. Knowing Elena was behind the anonymous emails and the leaked script was a bitter relief. It gave her an enemy to fight, but the threat to Caleb still lingered like a shadow. She glanced at her son, who was building a tower of blocks on the living room floor, his laughter a stark contrast to the storm in her heart. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ryan. Elena's gone. I'm meeting with the lawyers today. Stay strong. Zoe wanted to believe him, but trust was a fragile thread, and Hollywood had a way of snapping it. Ryan Carter, meanwhile, was in his office at Carter Productions, the city's skyline glittering through the windows. The evidence against Elena, call logs, texts, and IP traces spread across his desk, a map of her betrayal. Firing her had been satisfying, but the damage was done. Horizon Studios had parts of Zoe's script, and the hashtag scandal screenwriter hashtag still festered on X, fueled by trolls and tabloids. Ryan's past scandals made him an easy target, and Zoe's association with him only amplified the noise. He needed to clear her name, protect the film, and prove to her he was more than the man the headlines painted him to be. He called Paul, his investigator, his voice tight. What's the latest on Horizon? Are they moving on to Zoe's script? They're trying, Paul said, his tone gruff. They're fast-tracking a similar project, but it's a knockoff. They don't have the full script. They have fragments Elena sent. You've got a head start, but you need to move fast. Ryan nodded, his jaw set. We're starting principal photography next week. Anything else on Elena? She's lying low, Paul said. But she's got connections. I'm tracking her movements. If she's planning something else, I'll know. Do it, Ryan said, hanging up. He leaned back, Zoe's script open on his laptop. Her words, raw, honest, unflinching, were a lifeline, a reminder of why he was fighting. But her distrust cut deep. He'd seen the fire in her eyes when she confronted Elena, the fierce protectiveness of a mother. He admired her strength, but needed her to see he was on her side, not just for the film, but for her. Zoe arrived at the studio the next morning, Caleb in tow, a security guard trailing discreetly behind. The guard was Ryan's doing, and while Zoe appreciated the protection, it was a constant reminder of the danger. She met Ryan in the conference room, where Lila Chen reviewed shot lists with the cinematographer. Ryan's smile was tired, but genuine as he handed her a coffee. You holding up? He asked. Barely, Zoe said, her voice low. I need to know this is over. Ryan, no more surprises. It's not over, he admitted, his eyes meeting hers. But we're close. I've got proof Elena was feeding Horizon your script. I'm meeting with the lawyers today to file a lawsuit. We'll bury them. Zoe nodded, her fingers tightening around her cup. And the threats, Caleb's school got another email this morning. Same burner account, same vague warning. Ryan's face darkened. Why didn't you tell me? I'm telling you now, she said, her voice sharp. Please fix this, Ryan. Not tomorrow. Not next week now. He stepped closer, his voice low. I'm trying, Zoe. I've got security on Caleb's school, and Paul's tracking Elena's every move. But I need you to trust me just a little longer. Zoe's eyes searched his, torn between fear and hope. I'm trying, she said. But it's hard when my son's in the crosshairs. Before Ryan could respond, Lila interrupted, her tone brisk. Zoe, we need your input on the diner scene. The set's ready for a walkthrough. You in? Zoe nodded, grateful for the distraction. She followed Lila to the soundstage, Caleb trailing behind, his eyes wide at the fake neon signs and worn booths. The set was perfect, capturing the gritty heart of her script, and for a moment, Zoe felt a spark of pride. But the weight of the threats was never far, and she kept Caleb close, her hand on his shoulder. Ryan spent the day with his legal team building a case against Elena and Horizon. The evidence was damning: emails, texts, even a recorded call where Elena promised Horizon a game changer. But the real challenge was stopping Horizon's knockoff project. Ryan's lawyers suggested a cease and desist letter, but he wanted more. We go public, he said. Expose Elena, Horizon, the whole thing. Zoe deserves her name cleared. His lawyer, a sharp woman named Rachel, frowned. That's risky. It could backfire, make you both look desperate. I don't care, Ryan said. Zoe's taking the heat for something she didn't do. We're setting the record straight. Rachel nodded, drafting a press release. Ryan texted Zoe. We're going public with Elena's betrayal tomorrow. You okay with that? Zoe's reply was curt. Do it. But if it blows up, it's on you. That evening, Zoe met Maya at their usual diner, needing a break from the studio's chaos. Caleb was with a sitter under the watchful eye of Ryan's security. Maya slid into the booth, her eyes sympathetic. You look like you're carrying the world, girl. Zoe sighed, stirring her coffee. Feels like it. Elena's gone, but she's still pulling strings. And now Adrian's acting like my savior on X. I don't trust any of them. Maya leaned forward, her voice firm. You don't have to. Trust yourself. You've got a contract, a script, and a kid who thinks you're a superhero. That's enough. Zoe managed a small smile. You always know what to say. It's a gift, Maya said, grinning. But seriously, what's the deal with Ryan? He's going to bat for you. That's not nothing. Zoe hesitated, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug. He's trying. But his past those scandals makes it hard to believe he's all in. And now with Caleb being threatened, I can't take chances. Then don't, Maya said. Please keep your eyes open, but don't shut him out. He's got the resources you need. Zoe nodded, her resolve hardening. She wasn't running, but wasn't letting her guard down either. The next morning, Ryan called a press conference packed with reporters and cameras at Carter Productions. Zoe stood beside him, her posture rigid, her eyes scanning the crowd. Lila was there too, a silent pillar of support. Ryan stepped to the podium, his voice steady. We're here to set the record straight, he said. Zoe Washington script. Los Angeles Light is a groundbreaking story, and someone's been trying to sabotage it. My former assistant Elena leaked parts of the script to Horizon Studios and orchestrated a smear campaign against Zoe, including threats to her family. We have evidence, and we're pursuing legal action. The room erupted with questions, cameras flashing. Zoe stepped forward, her voice clear. I wrote this script for my son, for people who've been overlooked. I won't let anyone steal it, or my voice. We're moving forward, and Los Angeles Light will speak for itself. The press ate it up, the story shifting from scandal to resilience. But Zoe's heart wasn't in the spotlight. It was with Caleb, who was safe at school, but still a target. She glanced at Ryan, his eyes meeting hers with a quiet intensity. For the first time, she felt a flicker of trust, but it was fragile, and she wasn't ready to lean into it. Elena, meanwhile, was in a cheap motel on the edge of the city, her phone buzzing with alerts about the press conference. She'd underestimated Ryan's ruthlessness, and now her career was in ruins. But she wasn't done. She called her contact at Horizon, her voice low. Carter's gone public. You need to move now, or we're both screwed. The exec Marcus was calm. We've got enough to push our version. It's not your script, but it's close. Stay out of sight, Elena. We'll handle it. Elena hung up her hands, shaking. She'd burned her bridges with Ryan, but wasn't going down without a fight. She drafted another anonymous email to a tabloid, hinting at secrets in Zoe's past. It was a desperate move, but desperation was all she had left. Zoe returned home, her mind racing. The press conference shifted the narrative, but the threats to Caleb remained unresolved. She called Ryan, her voice steady. The press thing helped, but I need more. I need to know Caleb's safe. I'm working on it, Ryan said. Paul is tracking Elena's movements. We'll find her, and we'll stop her. Zoe paused, her voice softening. Thank you, Ryan, for fighting for us. It's not just for you, he said, his tone raw. This film, your story, it's the best thing I've done in years. I'm not letting it go. Zoe hung up, her heart conflicted. Ryan was proving himself, but the shadows of doubt remained. She hugged Caleb, her resolve unbreakable. She'd fight for her son, her story, and the light she'd found in the darkness. Zoe Washington stood in the makeup trailer, the hum of the studio lot buzzing around her. Principal photography for Los Angeles Light had wrapped, and tonight was the test screening, a critical step before the film's official release. The set was a hive of activity technicians adjusting lights, assistants darting between trailers, and Lila Chen barking orders to ensure every detail was perfect. Zoe's script had come to life, its raw emotion captured in every frame, but the victory felt hollow. The threats against Caleb hadn't stopped, despite Elena's firing and the public exposure of her betrayal. The latest email received just days ago was a chilling warning. You can't hide. We're watching. Zoe's heart was a knot of fear, but she refused to let it break her. Ryan Carter was in the production office, his phone pressed to his ear as he coordinated with Paul, his investigator. The press conference had shifted the narrative, painting Zoe as a resilient underdog, and exposing Elena's sabotage. But Horizon Studios was still moving forward with their knockoff project. Ryan's lawyers had sent a cease and desist, but the legal battle was slow and time was running out. He glanced at Zoe's script on his desk, its pages worn from countless reads. Her words were his anchor, a reminder of why he was fighting not just for the film, but for her trust, her safety, and the chance to be more than the man his past had defined. "Anything new on Elena Ryan?" asked Paul, his voice tight. "She's gone underground," Paul said. "No activity on her accounts, but I've got a lead on a guy she's been meeting, a lowlife with a rap sheet. It could be her muscle." Ryan's jaw clenched. "Find him. If he's the one threatening Zoe's kid, I want him locked up." "Working on it," Paul said. "But watch your back tonight. The screening's a big target." Ryan hung up, his mind racing. He texted Zoe, "Security's tight for the screening. You and Caleb are covered. See you tonight." Her reply was brief. "Thanks. Let's get through this." The test screening was held at a private theater in downtown LA, its marquee glowing with Los Angeles light. Zoe arrived with Caleb, her hand tight around his. She wore a sleek black dress, her posture defiant despite the weight of fear. Ryan met them at the entrance, his suit crisp, but his eyes tired. "You look like you belong here," he said, his smile genuine. Zoe managed a slight nod. "I want this to go smoothly for Caleb." "It will," Ryan said, his voice steady. "We've got extra security, and Paul's team monitors the crowd. You're safe." Caleb tugged at Zoe's hand, his eyes wide. "Mom, is this your movie?" She smiled, ruffling his hair. "Yeah, kiddo. This is ours." Inside, the theater buzzed with industry insiders, critics, and a few select fans. Lila Chen mingled with the crew, her confidence contrasting with Zoe's nerves. Ryan stayed close, his presence a quiet anchor. As the lights dimmed and the film began, Zoe held her breath, watching her words come to life on the screen. The audience was captivated, their silence broken only by gasps and soft laughter at the right moments. For the first time in weeks, Zoe felt a flicker of hope. But the peace was shattered halfway through the screening. Zoe and Caleb had stepped out to the lobby for a quick break, Caleb clutching a soda as they headed toward the restroom. A man in a dark hoodie emerged from the shadows, his movements swift. Before Zoe could react, he grabbed Caleb's arm, yanking him toward the exit. Zoe screamed, lunging forward, her nails digging into the man's wrist. "Let him go!" The man shoved her back, but Caleb kicked his small foot, connecting with the man's shin. The commotion drew attention, and Ryan, alerted by a security guard, sprinted into the lobby. He tackled the man, pinning him as paparazzi cameras flashed from the entrance. Zoe pulled Caleb close, her heart pounding as security swarmed the scene. "Who sent you?" Ryan demanded, his knee on the man's back. The man, his face bruised, spat out a name: Elena. Police arrived, cuffing the man as the crowd buzzed with shock. Zoe held Caleb, her body trembling, but her voice steady. "You okay, baby?" Caleb nodded, his eyes wide but brave. "I'm okay, Mom. You got him." Ryan stood, his breathing heavy, his eyes locked on Zoe. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice raw. "I should have had more security." Zoe shook her head, her grip on Caleb tightening. "You saved him. Thank you." The paparazzi captured every moment, the tackle, Zoe's fierce embrace, Ryan's protective stance. The images were everywhere by morning, plastered across X and tabloids with headlines like, "Hero Producer Saves Screenwriter's Son." The narrative shifted, painting Ryan and Zoe as a united front, their bond forged in crisis. But Zoe wasn't ready to celebrate. The attack had been too close, And Elena was still out there. Ryan met with Paul that night, and the theater incident was still fresh. "It's Elena's guy," Paul confirmed. "Name's Vince, a hired thug with a history of intimidation. He's talking to the cops now. He says Elena paid him to scare Zoe and make her drop the project." Ryan's fists clenched. "Where is she?" "Still off the grid," Paul said. "But Vince gave us a lead, a motel on the outskirts. I'm heading there now." "Go," Ryan said. "And Paul, don't let her slip away." Ryan called Zoe, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We've got the guy who attacked Caleb. He's pointing to Elena. We're closing in." Zoe's voice was tired but resolute. "Good. But I need this to end, Ryan, for Caleb." "It will," he said. "I promise." Zoe spent the night at Maya's, Caleb asleep in the guest room. Maya poured her a drink, her eyes fierce. "You're a warrior, Zoe. You faced down a thug for your kid. Don't forget how strong you are." Zoe sipped her wine, her hands still shaking. "I'm scared, Maya. I could handle Hollywood, but it's too much." "It's not," Maya said. "You've got Ryan, Lila, and me. And you've got Caleb. You're not alone." Zoe nodded, her heart heavy but determined. The screening had succeeded, the audience's response overwhelming, but the attack tainted the victory. She wasn't giving up, but she was done playing defense. It was time to fight back. The aftermath of the test screening assault hung over Zoe Washington like a storm cloud. The images of Ryan Carter tackling the thug who grabbed Caleb had gone viral, splashed across X and every major entertainment outlet. Headlines praised Ryan as a hero, Zoe as a resilient single mother, and Los Angeles Light as a film born from grit and heart. But Zoe felt no triumph. The attack had been too close, a stark reminder that her son was a target in a war she hadn't chosen. She sat in her apartment, Caleb asleep in her lap, his toy rocket clutched tightly. Her phone buzzed with notifications, but she ignored them, her focus on the boy who was her world. Ryan, meanwhile, was in crisis mode at Carter Productions. The theater incident had cemented his resolve to end Elena's sabotage once and for all. His investigator Paul had tracked her to a seedy motel on the edge of Los Angeles, and the thug Vince was spilling details to the police. Elena had paid him to intimidate Zoe, hoping to force her to abandon the project. The revelation fueled Ryan's anger, but it also clarified his purpose. This wasn't about saving the film, but protecting Zoe and Caleb, proving he was more than the scandal-stained producer the world saw. He called Zoe, his voice steady, despite the chaos. "Vince named Elena," he said. "The police have him, and they're closing in on her. I'm going public with everything today. Her betrayal, Horizon's role, all of it." Zoe's grip on her phone tightened. "You sure that'll stop her?" "She's desperate, Ryan. Desperate people don't quit." "I know," he said. "That's why we're not just stopping her, we're burying her. I've got evidence linking her to Horizon's knockoff project, and my lawyers are filing an injunction." "She's done." Zoe hesitated, her trust battered but stirring. "And Adrian? He's still out there playing the hero on X. I don't trust him." Ryan's jaw clenched. "He's part of this. Vince mentioned a connection. Elena used him to stir the pot. I'm digging into it. You focus on Caleb and the film. We're almost there." Zoe nodded, though he couldn't see it. "Keep us safe, Ryan." "I will," he said, his voice raw. "I promise." Ryan called a second press conference, this time at a downtown hotel, the room packed with reporters hungry for the next chapter in the Los Angeles Light saga. Zoe stood beside him, her posture rigid, eyes scanning the crowd for threats. Lila Chen was there too, her presence a quiet anchor. Ryan stepped to the podium, a folder of evidence in hand, his expression unyielding. "We're here to expose a conspiracy," he began, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "My former assistant Elena betrayed this project by leaking Zoe Washington's script to Horizon Studios. She orchestrated a smear campaign including threats against Zoe's family to derail Los Angeles Light. We have proof, call logs, texts, and a confession from her hired thug Vince, who attacked Zoe's son at the test screening. The room erupted, cameras flashing, questions flying. Ryan held up the folder. This is the truth. Elena worked with Horizon to steal Zoe's story, and they used Adrian Vega to fuel the rumors. We're pursuing criminal charges against Elena and an injunction against Horizon. Los Angeles Light is Zoe's vision, and no one's taking it from her. Zoe stepped forward, her voice steady, despite the knot in her chest. I wrote this script for my son, for people who fight for their place in the world. I won't let lies or threats stop me. This film is ours, and it's coming. The press went wild, the story shifting from scandal to triumph. X exploded with support and #support. Zoe Washington trended higher than #scandal screenwriter. Posts dissected Elena's betrayal, Horizon's greed, and Adrian's duplicity. A leaked audio clip surfaced online, Elena bragging to a Horizon exec about taking Carter down. The public's tide turned, and Zoe felt a flicker of relief, though her guard remained up. Adrian, caught in the crossfire, scrambled to save face. He posted a lengthy X thread, denying involvement, and claiming Elena had manipulated him. I wanted to support Zoe's vision, he wrote. I had no idea about the threats. But the evidence was damning, a text from Elena, urging him to keep stirring the drama for exposure. Fans turned on him, his golden boy image tarnished. Zoe saw the posts, but felt no satisfaction. Adrian's betrayal was old news. Her focus was on Caleb and the film. She met with Maya that evening, needing a break from the chaos. They sat in Maya's cozy living room, Caleb playing with a puzzle nearby. You're winning, Maya said, pouring wine. The world's on your side now. Elena's done, Adrian's exposed, and Ryan's fighting like hell for you. Zoe sipped her drink, her eyes distant. It doesn't feel like winning. Caleb was attacked, Maya. I can't unsee that. Maya leaned forward, her voice fierce. But you're still standing. You're stronger than this, Zoe. And Ryan, he's proving himself. Don't shut him out. Zoe hesitated, her heart conflicted. He's trying. But trust is hard. This town, it's brutal. Then be brutal back, Maya said. You've got a hit film, a kid who adores you, and a producer who's got your back. Finish this. Zoe nodded, her resolve hardening. She wasn't just fighting for her script. She was fighting for her family, her voice, and the light she'd found in the darkness. Ryan spent the day with his legal team, finalizing the injunction against Horizon. The evidence against Elena was airtight, and Vince's confession had led to her arrest at the motel. She was charged with conspiracy, harassment, and theft, her Hollywood dreams crumbling. But Ryan's focus was on Zoe. He'd seen the fear in her eyes at the screening, the fierce love as she held Caleb. He wanted to protect her, not just as a producer, but as a man who'd come to care for her more than he'd admit. He called her that night, his voice soft. Elena's in custody. Horizon's backing off. We're clear to finish the film. Zoe's voice was cautious but warm. Thank you, Ryan, for everything. It's not over yet, he said. The premiere's in a week. I want you and Caleb there front and center. This is your moment. Zoe paused, her heart stirring. We'll be there. But no more surprises. Okay. No more surprises, he promised, a smile in his voice. As the premiere approached, Zoe threw herself into final edits, working with Lila to polish the film. The test screening feedback was glowing. Critics called it raw, authentic, a triumph of heart over Hollywood's gloss. But Zoe's focus was on Caleb. She kept him close, and the security team was a constant presence. The threats had stopped, but the scars remained, and she wasn't taking chances. Ryan, meanwhile, was orchestrating the premiere like a general. He wanted it to celebrate Zoe's vision, a middle finger to everyone who tried to tear her down. He met with her at the studio, showing her the red carpet plans. "This is your night," he said, his eyes meeting hers. "You've earned it." Zoe nodded, her trust in him growing. "We've earned it," she said, a small smile breaking through. For the first time, Ryan felt like they were a team, not just producer and writer, but partners in a fight that had tested them both. He didn't say it, but he hoped she felt it too, the spark of something more profound forged in the chaos of their shared battle. The night of the Los Angeles Light premiere arrived, a glittering spectacle at the Dolby Theater. The red carpet stretched under a sky ablaze with stars, paparazzi cameras flashing like fireflies. Zoe Washington stood at the edge of the chaos, her hand clasped around Caleb's, her heart a mix of pride and nerves. She wore a flowing emerald gown, its fabric catching the light as she moved. Caleb clutched his toy rocket in a tiny suit, his eyes wide at the crowd. Ryan Carter stood beside them, his tailored tuxedo sharp, his smile warm, but tinged with the weight of their shared journey. "You ready?" Ryan asked, his voice low. Zoe nodded, squeezing Caleb's hand as I'll ever be. The past weeks had been a whirlwind. Elena's arrest had ended the threats, and Ryan's injunction stalled Horizon's knockoff project. The public had rallied behind Zoe, her story of resilience dominating the headlines. Adrian Vega's reputation was in tatters, and his role in Elena's scheme was exposed. But Zoe's focus wasn't on revenge, but on this moment, the culmination of her dream. Los Angeles Light was hers, born from her heart, and the world would see it tonight. They stepped onto the red carpet cameras, flashing reporters shouting questions. Zoe kept Caleb close, her smile steady as she answered. "This film is for my son," she said, her voice clear. "It's for everyone who's fought to be heard. I hope it speaks to you." Ryan chimed in, his presence commanding. "Zoe's vision is what makes this film special. It's raw, it's real, and it's going to change the game." Caleb tugged at Zoe's hand, whispering, "Mom, you're famous." She laughed, ruffling his hair. "Not quite, kiddo, but we're here." Inside the theater, the audience settled, the lights dimming. Zoe sat between Caleb and Ryan, her heart pounding as the screen flickered to life. The film unfolded, her words, pain and hope, brought to life in vivid frames. The diner scene, the mother's confrontation, and the quiet moments of love and loss were all there, unfiltered, as she'd written it. The audience laughed, gasped, and wept, their reactions a symphony of connection. Zoe felt Caleb's hand in hers, Ryan's steady presence beside her, and for the first time, she let herself believe it was real. When the credits rolled, the theater erupted in applause, a standing ovation that shook the room. Zoe stood, tears in her eyes, Caleb clapping wildly. Ryan leaned close, his voice soft. "You did this, Zoe. You." She met his gaze, her heart full. "We did this." The after-party was a blur of champagne congratulations and industry buzz. Critics called the film a masterpiece, predicting awards and box office success. Zoe mingled, her confidence growing with every handshake, but her focus was on Caleb, charming the crew with stories of his rocket. Ryan stayed close, his pride evident, as he introduced her to directors and producers, his hand brushing her arm in a way that felt both familiar and new. They stepped onto a balcony overlooking the city as the night wound down. Los Angeles sparkled below its lights, a mirror to the stars above. Caleb ran ahead, pointing at the skyline, leaving Zoe and Ryan alone. "You were right," Zoe said, her voice soft. "This film, it's everything I wanted." Ryan smiled, his eyes warm. "It's more than that. It's you, Zoe. Your heart, your fight. I'm just glad I got to be part of it. She looked at him, her guard finally down. You did more than that. You saved Caleb. You fought for us. I didn't trust you at first, but I do now. Ryan's breath caught his hand reaching for hers. That means more than you know. They stood there, the city humming below their hands entwined. Caleb ran back, tugging at Zoe's dress. Mom, can Ryan come to our house for pizza night? Zoe laughed, her heart light. Maybe, kiddo. We'll see. Ryan grinned, ruffling Caleb's hair. I'm in. Pizza sounds perfect. The next morning, reviews poured in, hailing Los Angeles Light as a triumph. X was ablaze with praise, fans quoting lines from the script calling Zoe a voice for the voiceless. The film's success was undeniable, but Zoe's real victory was when she stepped back onto the red carpet for the official premiere, Caleb on one side and Ryan on the other. They weren't just a team, they were a family forged in the fire of Hollywood's trials. Zoe looked at Ryan as the cameras flashed his smile, mirroring hers. Los Angeles Light wasn't just the name of her film, the spark they'd found in each other, the trust they'd built, and the hope that carried them forward. The city's glow surrounded them, a testament to the light they'd created,